Hello YouTube, my name is Kanga, and when I first learned about Stardew Valley, it was from Twitch streamers, where I was watching a couple different people play the game, but they were all playing it modded, some of them very modded. So when I finally started playing it myself, it honestly felt a bit bland. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot to do in vanilla Stardew still, especially since the 1.6 update, and I still highly suggest the game even without mods, but once I played it modded, there were some mods I just couldn't let go of, because they made the game so much more enjoyable for my personal experience, which of course is the point of mods in any game. I ended up lasting about 2 weeks in real life before I learned to mod the game, and I haven't looked back. If your goal is to 100% the game, I still 100% recommend unmodded, but there are definitely some things that mods have made me wish were in vanilla Stardew, as well as some things I haven't used mods for, but I just want to see in the game. I honestly think the majority of these could flow really well with vanilla Stardew without making it too different. So let's talk about my ideas, hopes, and dreams. First of all, NPC map locations. All it does is show NPC's general location on the map the same way you see yourself on the map. I already know where I am. I need to find Maru. This is a mod I cannot play the game without at this point. No matter how many hundreds of hours I put into the game, I will never have a good enough memory to remember the NPC's schedules, and constantly checking the wiki isn't super fun, especially if I'm streaming or recording. The next one is something that has bothered me since day one of Stardew. The way items that take up the same amount of placeable squares don't quite line up hurts my heart and soul. The rugs and the bed, the couches and the chairs. The entire game is pixels. Nothing is easier to align perfectly. This one is never going to happen because it would require insane amounts of code changing in the base game. But I've always really wished the character dialogue and cutscenes adapted as you furthered specific relationships. For example, once you're married, the other NPCs stop flirting with you, or if you marry someone like Maru, the interactions with Robin and Demetrius would change. Also, on the topic of relationships, more platonic roommates like Krobus would be awesome. Let me invite the dwarf or Gunther to stay with me. Or even one of the normally romanceable NPCs could be invited just as your roommate. Speaking of living with me, let me change some of those ugly ass spouse rooms. At least let the floor match the rest of my house, please. I feel like it would be so cool if you unlocked certain furniture or wall hangings, depending on who you marry, so that they can still have their special decor in the house they live in, but the spouse room could also match the house better that way. If Shane wants to have his dirty underwear and beer cans on the floor, he can, but it would be pretty cool if that floor matched the rest of my house, okay? There's just the floor really bothers me. This one is something I don't really need anymore, and I'm well aware there are certain workarounds, but when playing for the first time, I, 1, could not for the life of me tell which planted seeds were which, and 2, I thought my crops had died when some turned brown during the growth stage. I didn't know they just changed color. So something where hovering or clicking over a crop tells you what type it is, and if we want to go crazy, then something that says how long it has left before fully grown would be cool too. Next is one that proves playing Fields of Mystria has spoiled me. I want to be able to change the color of my hair and clothes on a whim. I love character customization so much. Any and every game is made better with it. So Stardew just give us a little bit more, I would be overjoyed. Even in the beginning, being able to change the color of certain shirts that have set designs in the original Picking Every Farmer's outfit would add a lot for me. There are quite a few shirts where I like the design or pattern, but I don't want to wear that color. Let me change it. Of course, I have to talk about more unlockable events, or even events that only show up later in the game. After the first couple years, Stardew becomes super grindy and basically just a money waiting game to be able to afford all the items necessary to 100% the game in vanilla. The Desert Festival and Fishing Frenzies were a great start to this in the big 1.6 update, so I'm hoping Mr. Ape comes out with some more like that. The desert has to be unlocked to attend that festival, but it's still easily doable in year 1 or 2. Fishing Frenzies are more or less random, similar to the train coming in, so they add a little something fun that goes on forever, but their use is still limited. Festivals are events that are not required to complete the game, so that speedrunners are still safe, but that only appear in the later years would be so cool to see. I understand that most of the events are based on holidays, so obviously they happen once a year, but it'd still be cool to see events added that start happening, say, year 3 and then are every year, or even something that happens every few years, like the Olympics. Obviously, there aren't going to be Olympics in Stardew Valley, but the once every 4 years idea would still be cool. Last but not least is another one that would require way too much coding to the point I've never actually seen a mod with it, But if one exists, let me know. I want it. But this one is just time actually passing. The child characters aging, new NPCs moving to town, characters like Abigail or Sam getting their own homes and moving out, having to upkeep more things than just fences. All would make the game feel so much more real, and in my opinion, it would add a lot of replayability to the game. Obviously, Stardew Valley is the kind of game that you can put hundreds of hours into easily, but if you start the game over and over again, there are always points where the game becomes tedious and boring for the majority of the players. I've experienced it myself and had to take long breaks, and then when I came back to the game, I didn't know what I'd been doing before. That is my list of things I wish were in Stardew Valley. I use a lot of mods most times, but many of them would probably not fit too well in the base game. So these were just some ideas that I think more or less would fit. Thank you for watching, and let me know in the comments what are some things you'd love to see in Vanilla Stardew.